Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon in some parts of the country. Welcome, everyone, to Ask Me Anything with the CEO of AITX and Robotic Assistance Devices, Steve Reinharz. My name is Craig Peterson, and I'll be moderating today's Ask Me Anything. I'd like to remind everyone to like, subscribe, and sign up for notifications to this YouTube channel to stay up to date. Also, make sure to check out the AITX.ai, radlightmyway.com, and radsecurity.com, and follow Steve on Twitter. Steve Reinharz. Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm doing great, Craig. Good morning. Thank you so much. Yeah, doing great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm also seeing a name here, David La Liberté, that I haven't seen in a long time. So that's kind of cool seeing him back here.
All right, Steve, we have a bunch of questions already submitted through Discord and Twitter, and
Great.
We'll be trying to get through all the Discord and Twitter questions and throw in some YouTube questions as they come in within the next hour or so. So with that said, are you ready for the first question, or would you like to say something before we jump in?
No, I mean, listen, I guess let's say a couple things real quick. First thing is I haven't seen any of these questions. I haven't selected the questions. Craig is a longtime AITX supporter, knows a ton about the company, and I trust him. He was on our board of advisors for, I want to say, almost 2 years, but none of this is staged or prepped. So makes for an exciting AMA. I like to keep it that way, but just want everybody to know that. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that Craig is volunteering his time for the benefit of the investor community. And on everybody's behalf, I want to give you, Craig, a big thank you for doing this and for being, with us through this journey and all the ups and downs. Thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do so.
My pleasure.
All right, with that said, let's jump into the first question, Steve. Comes from Discord, Aaron C. What is the feedback you have received thus far where Rad, Light My Way, Rio, Rosa, and Romeo have been deployed? I'm not asking for a general answer like it's good, but a more detailed answer for each based on a client's particular experience.
Well, listen, we are a platform, really, when you look at what we've created, what we've invented. So customers have different applications, different use cases, different goals, different, KPI related to each deployment. And because of that, there's not a singular application that we really point to. We point to a multitude of applications. Your problem might be with loitering. It might be with, vagrancy and public urination, stuff like that. It might be with vandalism. It might be threats against employees. It might be, there's a whole list of things that we do. So customers' experiences are, to some extent, varied because their applications are varied. What I will say, Aaron, is that the purpose of a good security plan is to create an environment where nothing happens. One of the challenges with security is you spend a whole lot of money on security, so nothing happens and nothing is success. And from that perspective, and again, I'm not necessarily sure that it's appropriate for me to go through customer experiences, customer by customer. And like I described, every customer's goals are different. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding, I guess. And we're getting expansion and expanding orders from existing customers. So using that as our measure, I'd say that customers are happy with their deployments. I think the quality of the deployments have increased over the last year. The quality of the applications have increased over the last year. Obviously, the quality of our hardware and software have increased as well, maybe to the point where we're legitimately able to say we're getting close to an inflection point for adoption. Every day we get closer to this inflection point, and this year has been a big deal. So, Aaron, I hope that gave you some of the specifics you were looking for in your answer, in your question.
Okay, on the opposite side of the expansion and companies expanding, what are the reasons where RAD products have been deployed but subsequently have been removed? If there's no main reason, what are the various reasons that you could give?
There are a few reasons why a pilot doesn't get traction and is removed. And we have a team of members of the company where we look at that weekly, and we have kind of root cause analysis done on every one of those um, situations, which there aren't many of, especially considering the time that we've been at it. But we want to face the challenges head on, understand what they are, and get better. So sometimes the issue has to do with the dealer. The dealer implementation may not have been perfect. Sometimes there's communication broken between RAD, the dealer, and the end user. Sometimes the decision for the pilot is made at the C level of the organization, and the executing levels feel left out or aren't supportive of it. So a lot of understand there's probably maybe 10 situations where this happened over the last 3-4 years. So it's not like it's an unsuccessful. I look at that metric and I look at the reasons why, and I'm very, very happy with it. We started this process, this root cause analysis, in August, and so we need to know what's going on. Anyway, the point of the matter is it's a variety of issues. We know what the issues are, and we've worked to improve our organization and our sales and implementation process, so that it's minimized going forward. But there will always be churn, there will always be attrition, there will always be pilots that don't take. You're running a big organization, and 95% plus of it is running perfectly. You're doing really well.
That sounds great. Next question comes from Rain King. Hi, Steve. Can you give us a ballpark figure on how many devices are deployed / ordered to give us a better picture of how close we are to the 500 unit mark?
Yeah, I mean, I can and I will, and I'll give you some numbers in this call. In this response. But generally speaking, when the securities attorneys and our auditors, know that I do things like AMAs and so forth, they really caution us with specific numbers unless those specific numbers have been vetted by a third-party auditor, because I'm very careful about being exactly accurate and having all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. So I'm happy to share with you that deployed and backlog is getting much closer to 500. And we have a path to have deployed plus backlog be at 500 to hit that 500 goal. We could hit it this month. We could hit it next month. We can hit it the month after. I don't know when the orders come in, but we're over 400, approaching 500 right now.
That's great. Next question comes from Oscar Homolka. You mentioned in the last update a competitor going out of business. Are you looking for an opportunity to buy out anyone, possibly listed in NASDAQ?
What was the last sentence? Sorry, Craig.
Possibly to list to the NASDAQ, or are you looking to buy out / merge with a company that is already listed?
Yeah. Okay. So Oscar, first off, hey man, love all the support you do. Love how you've been on this journey with us. Love how you push the right information into people's hands. So thank you, Oscar, from my behalf and the behalf of the community that you support. So everybody should know Oscar's really out there doing a lot of work for us. Oscar, I'm not interested in merging with some type of NASDAQ listed company in order to be on NASDAQ. That's not at this moment the way that we're planning on doing it. The way that we're planning on getting the NASDAQ hasn't changed, from our strategy that we developed over the last couple of years and that we've been talking about, probably for the last year or so, which is, build a beautiful, profitable business in the OTC, pay down debt, stockpile cash. This is all what I would like to do, and then burst onto the NASDAQ in a self-listing where retail investors can get gains. That is the goal, right? That is the goal. So there are no other plans to get up there any other way. That's kind of where it's at now. Uh, I did mention that a company out of Canada had run out of funding, and I mentioned that for a few reasons. I mentioned that because I wanted the community to be aware that at this moment we're in solid shape because of the equity funding deal that I did, which cost me personally, and I'm happy to do it. There's no resentment. I'm just sharing there with you. That we're going to be okay at this moment. Now everything changes quickly, but the best site that I have is very positive for us. As other companies go out of business, I want to be on the lookout for talent, to pick up the right talent. So that's just sharing with everybody because we're on this journey together. Those are my ideas. I'm always on the lookout to buy the right companies. Last month, actually, there's been a few different discussions that I've had over the last couple of years with potential targets. Last month, there was a potential target that we had gotten to offer stage with. They turned down our offer, which is fine. And, we move on, but there are still some companies in some categories that I would like to buy. A healthier market environment would certainly help that, but there's opportunities in hot markets and in slow markets, and my eyes are always open for something. Right now, we don't have any discussions with anybody after that last deal didn't go through. I don't have any discussions, where I'm really focused on driving the AITX business. Something comes up, I'm always interested.
Okay, next question comes from YouTube, Steve. So it goes back on to the retention rate. Approximately this year, how many clients return their units? If you don't know the exact number, can you give us a percentage?
Very, very few. I don't know. Our quarterly attrition is less than 10%.
Okay. I remember it has always been in the high 90s.
Yeah, our retention has always been in the high 90s. Yep. Attrition less than 10%. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I said, what I see is just tapping onto the first question, I just see higher quality implementations with better use cases and customers in need coming into the funnel and getting pumped out as sales. So I guess that what part of the reason is when you have a new technology like we do, you're changing people's language. You're using Avas and Rosas for different security functions where you may have used nothing before, or a human security officer. So there's a lot of language changes that need to go in a prospect organization from the C level down to the line level. And it takes time, and it takes the skill on our side to get better as well, so that we can communicate better and show people the value. And that's what we've been doing. So, that team, what we call our implementation team, is led by a guy who worked for Allied for 4 or 5 years, or more, maybe 4, 5, 6 years. He's been doing a great job with that team, staying sticky with our customers and showing them the value, as opposed to a couple of years ago when we had a smaller team, less knowledge, less ability to specialize. The product was more raw. Now we're moving into a phase of mature product, mature team, and the ability to implement, to develop, to identify, develop, and implement best practices.
Okay. Thanks for elaborating on that, Steve.
Yeah, it's a great question.
Next one comes from Cheesy. Hi, Steve. Is there any updates you could tell us about RADG and its efforts with the EV charging infrastructure?
Yeah, I sure can. We've got a couple things happening on RADG. First of all, the sales funnel for RADG is off and running. I want to say we've got somewhere between 5 and 10 targeted EV manufacturers in that funnel at this moment, which is great. We've completed a very cool, kind of sales brochure related to RADG, which I don't know if I've necessarily shared. And we're going to be giving a much more comprehensive report on the funnel and developments at the December 7th event by the team leader who manages those efforts. His name is Ravi. So Ravi will be up on stage going through sales and or at least sales funnel activity, and show you some cool stuff along the way.
Okay, to follow up on that, is it just for EV manufacturers, or is it EV manufacturers and the subsequent charging companies?
It's specifically the EV charging companies, the EV charging manufacturers.
Okay. I think that's going to be a great addition to what they have going on already.
I think so too. I think that we've had some good conversations with some of these prospects, and in our business, in my business, walking in my shoes, you're walking into the unknown, you're walking into the fog, you're walking into a future that you think you see. And I think we see a future that's more connected, that's aligned with fourth industrial revolution changes that I've talked about for years and that we see happening around us all the time. And this, for me, feels like a natural fit. So we'll keep working at it, and hopefully we'll be the incumbents as we develop that space, because I haven't seen anybody even touch it or think about it. That's one of the cool things about AITX. Get to create new things.
It's funny because I actually text you a picture of a charging location that was completely in the dark. The only thing that was out there was the lights from the neons of the charging station. And I was like, this would be a perfect thing. And, a week later, boom, came to fruition.
I remember you texted that to me, and I was like, man, I can't tell Craig what's going on or something. So I gave you, some type of, oh, that's kind of cool response, knowing that we would be a week away from the release, even though it was months in the works by the time I got your text message on that. Yeah.
Next question comes from Simmons. I saw an old press release about a Rad Dog and a delivery machine being available in the fourth quarter. Are they still on track for that?
Rad Dog, yes. The delivery vehicle, no. The delivery vehicle, which I think internally we've named it Dave. I don't know if I'm buying off on that name yet, but I don't know. Anyway, the delivery vehicle is going to be part of the Romeo 3.x platform, which is under development. And that's going to be a platform that we're building at a significantly lower cost than Romeo 2.x. That's a platform that has a modernized shape. We're certainly going to keep the silhouette shape that we have with Romeo for sure. That's iconic for us, but some improvements to the shape. And really, this is the accumulation of years of work of building an autonomous outdoor robotic platform at a reasonable price. So that'll be the platform that carries Dave.
Okay. Next question comes from YouTube. Is AITX software applicable to other robotic units? For example, the service industry?
Well, I mean, let's break that down, okay? Some would consider security part of the service industry. We're putting manpower and systems in place to create a service. That service is security. That service is opening a gate. That service is allowing somebody into a restricted area, blah, 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 right? So we're certainly in the services industry beyond a doubt. I think maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong or whatever, but I think maybe the person asking the question is saying, hey, is this going to go into, hospital delivery vehicles, delivery robots, or hotel service robots and stuff like that? At this moment, no, but RAD-G is designed especially for that function, where we could take the RAD system, the RAD platform, and apply it into all kinds of other service robots. That's part of the vision for RAD-G. We're starting with stationary EV chargers. And at this point, we don't have any discussions with anybody else in that area, but I foresee it for sure.
Okay. The next two questions kind of go hand in hand. Next one comes from Jarmus. Can you please give an overall update on production specific to the backlog? It was noted back in September that the plan was to have most of the backlog caught up and shipped by the end of November.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we'll probably be close. I don't think we'll have the full backlog finished by the end of November, but I think we'll be close. I mean, ROSA 3.1s are now in full production. I think we've had a first couple dozen of them finished. I've got photos of them that I can share if needed. Next week, there's going to be something really exciting for everybody involved in RAD happening, which I'll share on Twitter as soon as I get confirmation of it. That's production related. Trying to work around the Thanksgiving holidays is difficult. And then, of course, we've got our year-end holidays as well, which make it a little difficult on the production standpoint. But, we got a great team out there that are making great product, doing great quality control, and shipping it out. So along the way, what we've done from when I made that statement is we completed the upgrade from ROSA 3.0 to 3.1. which was somewhat significant in terms of the internals and some of the external components. So that happened during it, but we're still kind of staying on schedule. We fought through various logistics supply chain challenges along the way. But yeah, by the end of December, we should be really in really good shape in terms of production backlog handled. At the same time, really working to bring in more orders and keep those backlog numbers high, right? Let's accelerate. I do want to have a point where we've got devices on the shelf. So some of the production that we're doing will allow for some devices to be ready to be sold right away. But it's really a matter of measuring cash versus inventory purchases, production expenses, sales expectations, and just kind of working that mix that every manufacturer has to manage. But yeah, we're in good shape on it.
Okay. So what plans are in place should we see something like that with another major supply chain or a chip shortage? How do you prevent this from happening again?
Well, you don't really. I mean, the question's very speculative. It would take me down a bunch of rabbit holes that I don't think would be necessarily productive. So listen, you do what we're doing, which is have multiple sources, have multiple production paths. You do the best you can with it instead of a single source production chain. That's to my knowledge, that's about all you could do.
Okay, speaking about logistics, Bo asks, good afternoon, Steve. Me and approximately 115,000 plus of my retail investor friends are waiting on our ship to come in. Can you give us an update on the ship that we're waiting for? I think he's talking about the one that has the ROSA shells on it.
Well, Bo, I don't know, man. I look forward to meeting you on December 7th. But my answer a few moments ago was suggesting that we're getting an exciting something happening in RAD related to production next week. So I'll share with you guys here. Our first container of, ROSA 3.1 shells, mass produced, ROSA 3.1 shells in mass produced custom cardboard and foam boxing is supposed to arrive on tomorrow morning. Now, is it going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? You never know until it shows, but that's where it's at. So I think that when that ship comes in, when that container gets to the Rex, I think that's going to be a pretty cool moment. And I'm just trying to figure out how to stage the photo because we've got, RAD boxes with the RAD logo on it and our shells already in it, ready to go. But anyway, that's going to happen this week, I hope.
That sounds awesome that they're coming in. I know it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the supply chains are it's a heck of a process, and I think part of the reason why we have such a strong community is because we get to satisfy people's curiosities about how different companies work, right? How do you have a company like AITX that is a full company, right? Like by that I mean, we write our own software, our own firmware, we do our own design, we do everything in-house by us, we build our own product, we deliver it, we install it, we service it. There's not many companies like us anymore. more or less now you might have a couple companies that really control a lot of an industry, and then there's a whole ecosystem that grows up around it. We are trying to build the ecosystem, as you see with our dealer growth, but from a tech standpoint and a logistics standpoint, is all done in-house. And it's fair to say, that everybody's been on this journey with us from when we were, working out of a garage, and off of a kitchen table, like so many other tech companies. So everybody's got their own path and their own starting point. That's where we started. And now our path is at this point where, we've got over 30,000 square feet of production facility in Detroit at the Rex, which everybody has, seen videos and pictures of, and many have been to at this point. We're sitting on another 9,000 square feet in Canada in our new offices in southeastern Ontario rather, in Waterloo. I got a small office, really more of a warehouse garage type facility in Southern California as well. So, we got a lot of space where a lot of things happen. And I don't forget where we came from and how that happened, and have a smile on my face knowing the perseverance and dedication that many of us focused on in order to get to this point. But yeah, that ship coming in, Bo, that is a big moment. That's an emotional moment for me and many of the longtime team members. And it's a potentially exciting financial moment for us all at the same time.
Okay. Next question comes from Marino Joe. Thanks, CP and Steve, for doing another AMA. I'm looking forward to December 7th at the Rex. And I have some questions. But before we get into his questions, do you want to give us any hints about December 7th?
I'm sure. First of all, Marino Joe, I love the fact you're going to be there. I'm so excited about that. And I think that the other, core investment team of retail that's going to be there are really going to enjoy meeting you as well. You've got a great spirit. You bring it to the community. I thank you for that. December 7th has been spiraling into an extravaganza. I'm actually, as we're talking here, I have I wouldn't necessarily call it but it's the agenda. It's the plan, like what devices are going to do what, who's going to be there. We've got a few different rad presenters. We have a few non-rad presenters. We have new product introductions. We have technical demonstrations. So it's going to be something else. I mentioned either in a video yesterday or whenever, I said, we're working really hard to make this a meaningful and material exhibition and exposition of AITX. So we're going to have some fun, but it's going to be a serious event where we really lay out real stuff. And I mention that because it's really kicking off that next stage of AITX, in my opinion. You go through a lot of stages in the business cycle as you build it. And I think what we're going to show in terms of technology, strength, and outside partners is really important for anybody interested in AITX and RAD to know about. So yeah, December 7th, Marino Joe, you won't be disappointed.
Okay, here comes a question. He's got a list of questions.
Okay.
How many roses can be manufactured in a month, and are there any components unavailable?
We can produce, again, it's a variable question, right? Because how many roses can be produced in a month? Well, what else are we producing at the same time? Are we doing straight all Rosa, all hands on deck for Rosa? And if so, are we doing all hands on Rosa with, for 40 hours a week? Are we running a night shift? So, it becomes a bit of a speculative question, because on the one hand, I can say, hey, I could probably arrange things and do short-term staff ups to produce 250 roses a month if we wanted to. Do we really want to? No. We have different production lines, different products that need to be produced for our clients. And so I can't really see any one product line taking up the whole factory at any one time. Right now, The way that I see it going forward is we'll produce 50 to 100 roses a month, is more or less what we're going to comfortably knock out, along with, Rios and Avas and so forth. And those numbers, at least in the short term, match our order intake projections at the same time.
Okay. So I'm assuming the backlog is mostly roses. So it's just going to be banging roses out once those shells come in this week or next week.
No, we got backlog in every product category.
Okay. Next follow-up question would be any information or updates on the residential security?
Listen, the Ross software package that we've mentioned is directly a critical building block as we get closer to that residential product. So that's a big, big, big development. We're in the midst of a 10-week software development sprint, which we aim to have wrapped up by the end of December. And really, that has the Ross software along with different hardware, and hoping to have that in all the devices by the end of first calendar year quarter, or beginning of the second calendar year quarter. So that will put us in a position where we either, green light residential roses, as we're just kind of calling it, or we decide, hey, I want some more development, I want some more cost control, I want some more of this, we're not ready there, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, it's absolutely, the building blocks and foundations are moving forward.
Okay. Follow up to Ross. Now, you tweeted out a picture the other day about a map of the United States with various colors on it. Is that pertaining to Ross, or is that a whole nother unit in development?
It is, and I almost regret that tweet because I gave it no context. I just said, hey, what's this, right? And it could have been anything. And I credit the AITX community for coming up with like some great responses, but I got to stay true to the December 7th reveals. And I just have to say, I will reveal what that means December 7th.
Okay, you heard it here. Make sure you're tuned in December 7th.
There you go.
Logistics company being publicly announced. Do you have any more information except you're waiting for them to press release it?
Yeah, a week and a half ago, they responded. They said, hey, they're getting their quarterly. I think we got this message on the 3rd. We would have received this message from them on the 4th of November, so a little over a week ago, where they said, we're finishing up some other stuff and then we'll get to it. So again, is it going to be this week, next week? I sure hope so. In the meantime, client keeps giving us orders. So, hey, keeps giving us orders, keeps paying us, keeps expanding. So I would like it to be out there, of course. Well, only so much we can do.
Any update on that university, the private East Coast College that had ordered 5 roses?
Yeah, deployment completed. I don't know the exact state of the implementation right now, but they're up. I know from a call that we had late last week where we go through customers and deployments and so forth that, there weren't any red flags or any issues that we, needed to be made aware of. So everything seems to be moving well. I don't think that they have or I know that they haven't activated Rad Light My Way yet. So we'll see when they do that. But yeah, it's up and running, and hopefully we have some successes that we can broadcast.
Will that college be revealed?
I hope so. It's between the college, the dealer. Those guys really need to decide. We haven't asked yet. We will when the time is right. That's why I said, let's have a success. Let's have a successful interdiction, or any one of the many functions that the devices will do. Let's get them excited, and then we can ask and say, hey guys, give us a little endorsement here. It's security, so it's not like, oh, I love this brand of Coca-Cola. It's a little bit more complicated than that, unfortunately.
Are there any more universities or colleges in the pipeline?
Yes. There are school districts in the pipeline.
Okay. Next question comes from Jarmus 18. Hi, Steve. Considering we have reported $653,000 in total year-to-date revenue for the first half of this year, do you still expect the company to report year-end revenue of 3 to 5 times X, like the previous year noted?
Yeah, let me be very specific. I expect recurring monthly revenue at year end to be 3 to 5 times greater than it was at year end last fiscal year. Yes.
Next question comes from Riot Cracking Skulls. Would you be able to tell us how much the monthly recurring revenue is per model? And do you have a ballpark figure of how many of each are deployed?
I'm not going to do it on this call, but certainly we do have that. Yeah.
Next question comes from George Harrison. Hi, Steve. Did AITX satisfy all QB uplist requirements with the exception of the share price remaining above a penny?
You know, OTC markets is so conservative, right? To my knowledge, we satisfied all the requirements for QB except the penny thing. And it was a shame because the day that we had the call was the day we slipped under a penny. It was just an absolute timing shame.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We'll get back
Very
up there.
unfortunate. Yeah. Unbelievable, but just how it is.
Next question comes from Diane.
Yep.
Hi, Steve. Is there any Romeo pre-order commitment still out there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there'll be a press release this week on some additional Romeo commitments that were made or some orders received. Yeah, wait for the PR this week.
Sweet. Can't wait. More Romeos. Next question actually comes from Eric Medina. Hi, Steve. On June 23rd, 2022, there was a PR of shipments to a major casino. Can you give us any information on those?
What was the PR again? What was it about?
It was, I have it right here, actually. So, robotic assistance devices shipping an additional 14 units on new letter of intent from major casino operator.
Yeah, we're in the midst of the POC with them right now. Again, going well. They need to spend their money. I'm hoping that can get, they potentially say expanded in the opening order from the 14. That could happen as soon as this week.
And this is the second casino?
I
I
don't know. Maybe second, maybe third. Depends how you want to count.
Okay, so they're going well.
So far, it's going well. No information to the contrary. That's right.
Okay. Eric Medina also wants some more information on the September 2nd, 2022 PR, which is a surge in sales activity with the close of fiscal quarter. And specifically, it has to do with the Richmond Group or Citrus Construction getting 4 ROSAs. And then I believe there was another ROSA signed to a dealer and 2 AVAs that went out.
Okay.
Can you give us any information about how the sales funnel is looking?
Yeah, I mean, the sales funnel is continuing to get stronger. You know, I mean, referencing, you know, an end of quarter press release from 2.5 months ago, you know, I got a good memory. That's tough to really get into the detail of what was said in that one. No, sales funnel is going good. Listen, we have a really strong sales team, and you know, we have a building reputation in the industry. We have you know, momentum starting to grow, so that's translating into funnel activity as well. So we're on the right path, you know, and you know, have a fiduciary responsibility, of course, and a moral and ethical responsibility to always be transparent with these things. And you know, I'm not saying that, oh, this product isn't taking, or we're not getting callbacks, or the funnel's not building, right? We're not in that situation. We're in a growing situation. So as I say on Twitter and on the weekly videos, I'm very happy with how it's going. That said, do I want ink on contracts faster? Absolutely, I do. Absolutely. Do I spend time every day trying to figure out how to move, people to sign the stuff that they've verbally given us the orders for, so we can go ahead and produce and get them out? Absolutely. Do we have a dealer right now who has received POs from his clients or from their clients for RAD devices, and they have internal issues getting the POs to us? Yes. Are we hoping to get those POs this week? Yes. So yeah, we're in play. We're in the big game.
Next question comes from Twitter, Franklin E. I'm not on many social media outlets, so I'll ask you here, why don't you see any insider buying of AITX stock like many other companies?
Well, first of all, I can't reference many other companies because that's a generalization. We need, like, in this situation, we need to be factual. So I don't know how many other companies there's insider trading going on. So I got to strike that from the question as far as I'm concerned. I will give you the answer why there is no insider trading of AITX. And the answer is because I forbid it. And because everybody associated with AITX signs a non-trading policy. We call it, I forget the formal name for it, but we have like a 5-6 page policy that explains and creates the restrictions for not just team members, but also different vendors, different people close to the company to not trade the stock. Now, obviously, you are asking the question, in my opinion, saying, why can't you trade the stock? And the reason is simple. I will not have insiders trade against retail. So this summer, in accordance with our employee stock option plan, we distributed options for 100 million shares for team members, and we gave it to eligible company team members, which was about 75 people or so of the 80-ish that we had. About low 70s were eligible to receive the stock. So we gave them the options. Now, those options don't mature and can't be exercised from 4 years from this past August. We are going to take that 4 years, not compete with retail. Hopefully, you see the moves I'm making to clear the road for retail to get gains, hopefully. And, having AITX team members working against that technically would not be, is not consistent with my desire to help retail as much as possible.
Great answer. Next question comes from Twitter again. I had assumed it was on pause for a while, talking about the dilution, but I see the outstanding shares just went up again by almost 15 million shares. Will the dilution continue even after the $4 million loan?
For sure, it will. And I don't understand how anybody could assume it wouldn't, because don't assume, ask the question. So I'm glad you asked the question. As I have consistently said, shares will continue to drip into the authorized over the course of the next, at least short-term foreseeable future. Now, dripping in 15 million shares into 5.1 billion shares, well, I need you to make a determination as to whether or not that's really destructive to the stock. At the same time, I want to remind everybody, these 15 million shares, for an example, are not free shares. They can't be dumped. I mean, they can be dumped, but there wouldn't be logic behind that dumping, because they're all sold at a price near market. So it's kind of like, and I love the opportunity to educate and share how an S3 or an S1 for that matter works. An institutional investor or a large accredited investor operating as an institutional buys a chunk of shares. It's all public. Nothing is Nothing is illegal or malicious or dumping or whatever. And they buy shares at a slight discount in order to fund the company. And then they have at their discretion the ability to hold the shares or sell the shares or do whatever it is that they want. And that's how companies get funded. That's how some companies get funded. And that's one of the funding methods we get. We get funding through the market. We get funding through the equity sale that I made for the $4 million. We get funding from loans that I use to buy inventory and create revenue generation. So, let's get over the idea that this is bad. I will share with you that particularly out of the OTC, there has been years of abuse of dilution and terrible notes deals that convert into almost free shares and then get dumped on investors. And I would say that, AITX, before I was CEO, suffered from some of that for sure. We're not going to shy away from the truth. But then hopefully, and I think that our folks that are on this phone have seen me clean that up with big deals, canceling that stuff out over, a year and a half ago when we had them. So we don't have any we don't have anything toxic right now that you could say. We're just making good deals, funding the business the right way. That's what I got on that answer. Hopefully, Craig, I thoroughly answered that. But if you have any follow-up questions related to dilution and this fear of dilution, this is not, 2018. This is 2022. We're a solid company with responsible leadership and management making the right decisions for retail. I'm just going to bring more attention to this. People are like, oh, dilution, right? I diluted myself significantly a couple of weeks ago with that $4 million deal. So I'm in the same boat, guys and girls. I'm in the same boat. So the ultimate idea is that say, hey, 15% dilution. I'm just throwing out numbers. 15% dilution, perhaps over a year, over 12 months. You've got to ask the question to yourself: can the company return value greater than 15% if, say, they're given $10-15 million? Can we take $10-15 million and do better with it than the 15% dilution could potentially cause, right? So that's what you have to deal with. But I'm happy that you asked the question, gave me an opportunity to give a full response and share how it really works with dilution with AITX. I'm happy to answer any follow-up questions if I missed anything on that.
There was one follow-up question by Bob Jones. Why was there more dilution if you just got a $4 million loan?
Because my job is to collect cash to keep this company operating, and I'll continue to do that until we're self-sufficient.
Okay, the next question is, can the company give the investors a guidance report?
I don't have anything prepared, so I'll just focus everybody on the 3 to 5 times RMR growth target that we have for fiscal year end.
Next question comes from Oscar. How many new investors have joined the ranks in the last 6 months? And what about any institutions?
So I don't know. As part of the QB process, we had to, go and buy that NOBO report, right? From the DTC, from the deposit treasury where all the stocks are registered. The report was $13,000. And I don't see any reason to buy the report again unless it's needed for regulatory or some issue like that. Otherwise, it's a ton of money just to satisfy curiosity. So because of that, I don't have any new information as to how the investor base has expanded whatsoever. And we probably won't until the next time that we have to pull down that list. So sorry, I don't have better information on it. I don't even really like track that too much, my role is, driving the business and communicating what the business does to the market, as opposed to, knowing what investor's doing what. And that's not my deal. That doesn't add value to the company. You guys are the community. you guys are doing all that work. We're just trying to drive a good business, and I'm trying to be transparent so you know what you own.
All right. Another question from Oscar. Any updates on the Hollywood appearances? Any release dates or hard dates?
Yeah, so there's two of the publications that I'm close to. I'm actually going to say I just texted our chief marketing officer, who's closest to two of the productions, or he's closest to three of the four. But the one that I'm closest to is looking at a March release, and that's really cool. And I've spoken to one of the executive producers, and he has like an early cut of it, and like there's a key scene that's in the movie with the lead star Anna Rosa, and it looks like that has not been cut, because you never know from the time you film to the time the production hits the big screen. So that, I think, is going to be in the scene, and I think that's huge. So that's great, and that we're looking at March for that. The biggest production, that one, as far as we know, is still on schedule for August release. And there's rad devices just throughout that production. Again, haven't seen it, haven't spoken to any of the producers, so I don't know what got included. But there's some specific scenes that would alter the storyline if they got deleted. So I know that we're going to be in it. So I know that we're going to be in it in a big way, and I can't wait. I wish I could share more, because it's freaking cool. And once it is public, we'll be able to share some stuff, hopefully with their permission, of how we did it and how we became part of this production. That's a good one. The TV production happened out of Hawaii. I don't have any new information on it. Unfortunately, I think we were looking at December, January, but I don't have accurate, up-to-date information on it. And then the fourth movie, or the fourth production, oh, and Doug's just texting me right now. Let's see what he says. But I will share. Yeah, we do expect to be at a couple premieres, by the way. The two productions that I said I expect to be there, which is going to be so fun. Never been to a red carpet layout, with all these stars and stuff. So that'll be fun. We are in discussions with a big director, like a top 3 director right now, for one of his upcoming movies. And Doug's handling that, and we're going back and forth on it. So maybe we get in that one. I don't know yet. But yeah, that's where we're at on it. It's fun. It's exciting. It's quiet right now for us, though, waiting for these other movies to come.
All right. Steve, this comes from Rocco20. Has the backlog had any effect on new sales? Meaning, if a company is currently waiting for 10 units and they don't want to order more until the first is deployed?
For sure. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. No, clients want their units. They need them deployed. They want to see the value. They need to have that justification to put in their expansion orders. There's no question that not being able to get devices out over the past few months at the speed and frequency that we would ideally love, has, maybe slowed some of the growth, for sure. That's just a reasonable expectation. Yeah, we're doing the best we can to get through it. Earlier in this AMA, I gave some additional, things that we're doing in terms of having multiple design and development paths from multiple teams inside the company, so we can use, hey, this chip is out. Okay, we're going to build it on this chip instead. We're ready to go, right? So there's things like that we do to mitigate it. Different tech issues come up on production or in testing that need to be mitigated. This is all part of being part of a tech company. When you get your device and it looks perfect, it looks simple, but the reality is much more complicated, and there's a lot of moving pieces that need to be perfectly. But certainly, from my perspective, it's frustrating that we can't have more units out in more customers' hands faster. I'm happy with that last deal that I did, to have the funding to get through the backlog and to have units on the shelf, which is the goal. so that we don't have a 30, 60, 90 waiting list in some cases.
Okay, we're approaching the 1 hour mark. Do you want to keep rolling with these? We probably got maybe another 15 minutes or so of questions.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. In your hands to pick the questions you think are the most interesting to the community. Let's do it.
Okay. Can we have a running counter on the RAD/AITX homepage of money saved over the cost of human guards, kind of like what was there? Units sold and units installed.
Yeah. Once we get to 500 units, it'll be back up.
Okay. What is the status of the major telecommunications company and the white boxing RAD products?
The relationship is back on track after the work we did with them in Atlanta. And we have some big presentations at their headquarters on December the 1st. Very exciting. I'm very, very, very happy about that. That's where that's going.
Do you think we'll have any information by the 7th?
It's possible. I wouldn't count on it. After the December 1st meeting, my expectation is that we go into some hardcore work together, one part being on the technical side and the other part being on the preparation for sales and marketing. This is a company that does over $20 billion a year in sales and is very methodical, structured with how they bring anything to market. So I expect that the gag order will continue until they're ready to launch, which might be springtime, depending on how development goes.
Next one comes from Pantera 21. Now that there's a backlog is building and more interest is growing, will the newly passed CHIPS Act help?
I haven't read the CHIPS Act. I don't know what the effect of it's going to be on the chip industry at all. I'm sorry.
What about implementing more automation workflow efficiencies at the factory and hiring more assemblers?
You know, we went to a production automation show in Detroit a couple months ago. I didn't go, but a couple of the production guys went. They found some good, some good machines and so forth. You know, it's a big effort. That's good. That requires a large capital investment, and really, until volume kind of increases to another extent, I can't see significant automation. What we're doing is, in order to improve efficiencies, is we're, taking different sub-assemblies and starting to look for third-party contract manufacturers to start working on sub-assemblies. The first and most important one at this moment are the wiring harnesses for ROSA, which are quite complex, and they take a lot of time. So, this is an effort to save money. Of course, we got to keep costs down always and continue to be vigilant on how to do that. So removing the wire harness development from the REX allows our higher paid assembly folks to do higher level work. So that's an example of production efficiencies. But from a full automation standpoint, we don't really spend much time on it right now. We're not quite at that point yet.
So you would say production bottlenecks are as much as a priority as sales?
Production bottlenecks have to do with receiving inventory in a structured and timely manner. That's really where the production bottlenecks come from. They're not coming from labor or anything like that.
Okay. Will we be hearing anything about the operations executives on improvements for production at the December 7th meeting?
Maybe, I don't think so, though, namely because we have a pretty packed agenda right now of things that I think are more notable. We can say, hey, production time for ROSA 3.1 to ROSA 3.0 is 50% less, which is true. But then it's like, okay, well, who cares? And what does it really do? And how does that affect the financials? And what's more notable, right? Do I want to go down that rabbit hole, or do I want to focus on some other elements? So we probably won't talk about it, but you'll meet the people. I'll be introducing some of the leaders and some of the team members who do that work. And we'll see what happens from there. I don't really script team members on these things. We're very transparent. So maybe Marino Joe will ask a couple questions and share it afterwards or something. I don't know. But no, it's not a focus point for December 7th at all. We've got more exciting things to talk about.
Okay. The next one comes from Groove 05. How is the progress coming in regards to patents?
It's coming, and I got a hard deadline of December 7th because I plan on presenting a whole bunch of them. I do find it challenging. There's, some things that I can delegate, some things I can't. This is one that I'm not delegating. I'm doing it myself, so it's challenging to find the time to get through it. But I'll have something pretty cool, I think, to share on December 7th related to the patents. Yeah.
Next one comes from John Galt. Thanks for all you do, Steve and Rad team. Will you be taking pre-orders for Rad Dog like you did Rio?
Yeah, we will. We will. And there's a lot to talk about on Rad Dog on December 7th, which is really, really, really cool. But yeah, more on December 7th. I'm sorry, John. I love your support, and I'm glad you asked the question. I can't answer all the questions. Some of the stuff's got to come in sequence.
Got maybe 10 questions left. Next one comes from Warrior 01. Has Steve considered to partner up with someone or a company to help fund AITX so we don't have to use dilution?
Well, we've done that. When I sold 20% of my I didn't sell 20% of my share. I made a deal that diluted my ownership percentage by 20%. It's an important distinction. So that's a deal that's non-dilutive to retail that I made in the last couple of weeks. So the answer is yes. But it's as a startup with debt, where there's certain types of money that kind of gets thrown at us, and I say no because most of it is severely dilutive, toxic dilutive to retail. So we won't take that money. Finding equity investments, in today's market and climate is challenging. We've got an incredible degree of market uncertainty and loss of liquidity in the major and minor markets. So I'm happy with where we're at. We're going to continue to try to make good deals along the way.
Okay. Next one comes from McNeil, United Enterprises. What qualifications and traits do you look for when assembling a team?
I'm looking forward to seeing you on December 7th. I'm very glad that you're going to be there, so I wanted to shout out to you for that. I look for character, number one. I look for people that don't have any deceptiveness or deceit. I look for people that need to operate in a complementarily positive teamwork environment. So that really cancels a lot of people. People that get canceled early in our team selection process are ego-driven people, pride-driven people, just a lot of bad habits. People that exhibit sarcasm in their regular speech, shy away from those people. And as a result, with some exceptions over the years, we have what I call and what I talk about as harmony. And what that means is that when it's Monday morning and it's time for you to go to your job or flip open your computer and get some work done, that you feel welcomed, supported, encouraged to do your work and to be part of this mission. So that's really a high standard that we work towards. And I'm really happy that we have harmony across all teams right now. It's a unique time in our development where we've been able to trim out the team to where we want.
McNeil United Enterprises has another question. Where are we at on Bailey's gift?
I think I gave an update on that, I want to say a week and a half ago. And I know that the South Detroit school is getting implemented this week. So that'll be very, very cool. Maybe we have a press conference on it next week or something like that. I don't exactly know when. But yeah, it's coming along. there's 8 or 9 schools that have the paperwork, that have to run it through their legal and process and all their things, it takes time. That's kind of where we're at with it. I'm happy with Bailey's gift, very, very much so. I think it's a great thing for our company to have done. Not just because of the, charitable contribution to safety and security for children and parents and staff members at these locations, which in itself is an honorable activity to say the least. But also the company, of course, gets ancillary benefits of publicity, and momentum creation along the way. So yeah, that's how it's going. It's slow going.
Okay. Kind of a follow-up question to this, which I think is a good idea coming from Mona Lisa. With the onset of the new hardware going to production, what is the plan for the units already deployed? That is, will they be retrofitted at the request of the buyer? And if so, what will happen to the hardware that will be swapped out? Could this be used as a discount in an extension of the Bailey's Gift program?
Yes, yes on all. When a Rosa 180, when we have a Rosa 180, sometimes we'll take its guts out, the guts that apply to a new Rosa, and we'll use it there. Sometimes we keep them on the shelf for quick deploy. So we're really very conscientious about managing, our money. And from my perspective, our money is everything. It's, every paperclip, every device, anything that we do is all cash. So yeah, no, we're very, very careful about that. What's the plan? What's the back half of that question again, Craig?
Could this be used as a discount in an extension of the Bailey's Gift program?
Yeah, it can be, and we kind of toy with that idea, talking about it. The move from the 2.0 line to the 3.0 line is such a huge upgrade that my instinct is always to have clients with the best equipment all the time. But reality is the 2.x line works great, and customers who don't necessarily need to change it, and we've told them, hey, before we do any swaps of existing gear, we got to get the backlog done for the new customers first and for the new expansion orders first, and then maybe we'll revisit what you have. So that's kind of what our position's been right now.
Okay, next question comes from Look for the Helpers. Hi, Steve. First, thank you for taking the time to answer your investor questions. The auto market seems to be strong early adopters of RAD. Have you thought about exhibiting or presenting at any of the trade shows in Detroit?
We're pretty deep in the Detroit community right now, between Ford and Stellantis primarily, as well as the service providers that will operate lots for these guys and so forth. So I don't see a need to spend money on a show for that per se. Mark and I are going to a show in DC tomorrow, where we're going to meet, I don't know, a few dozen CSOs of notable companies. So I prefer to go where the buyers for our services are congregating, and those are generally security or facility types of shows. A general car show is going to show car type stuff, not necessarily service providers. So we're going to stick to kind of going where the buyers are to the best of our ability. Yeah, shows like ISC West in Las Vegas. We're not going to ISC East, which I think is this week. We got other things happening, so we're not going to go to ISC West, but we went to GSX in Atlanta. And then we do some different regional shows. But tomorrow's show is very expensive. We're paying a lot of money for access to these CSOs. And that's what I want to do. I want to make high-level relationships, explain the concept, show how we can save money, and then get driven into the organization from the highest levels.
Okay. Does the company still expect 700 to 1,200 units committed and ordered by end of fiscal year, as announced in the July 11th press release?
Certainly possible,
3 months ago, the company announced an order from a large hospital group. Is there any information on this, and will that client be revealed?
It will be revealed. The units are in production. I think that I hope to have the implementation complete by the end of December. Yeah, very exciting. Yeah.
Would they be expanding throughout their group into other locations?
We sure hope so. We haven't had discussions, or I haven't had discussions with them yet. I'm not, I don't handle that specific account, but yeah, I hope so. I mean, it's a massive, I think it's a top 5 health group. So yeah, I expect that implementation to be successful. I expect other hospital security directors and C-level decision makers to see what's going on there and understand its affordability and applicability and put it in their facilities too. It's a huge area for potential expansion next fiscal year. Yeah.
How is Rad Light My Way's first deployment being received? Any feedback from the users?
Well, the first true Rad Light My Way deployment is that hospital, and it's not deployed yet.
Okay. Last question before we wrap this up. Are there McNeil United Enterprises, are there any new software or modules currently being worked on for deployment?
There are, we have a few different software, you call it modules. We have, we're gonna hopefully show the new mobility interface December 7th. We're working on that, so hopefully that comes out by then. Got the Ross interface by December 7th, as well as a refresh of RadSoc in general. So those are things being furiously worked on right now. There's a lot of details in there. Rad PMC is kind of like a bit of like the neglected part of the software. So we got to knock off the glamour stuff and then get into PMC. We, recently finished Rad Guard 3.x upgrades, which we've shown pictures for. That's where we're using the cool green and the new icons and the new flow, and it runs on new backends. So yeah, I mean, the biggest group of Rad employees are software developers. So a lot of stuff gets done all the time.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Before we wrap up, would you like to give us any hints on the December 7th event?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I got the agenda. Like I said, I got the agenda open. Okay, so let's give a couple of hints. We're going to have Rosa 3.1, Ava 3.1, some Rad Dogs, Romeo, new product that has not been seen. The new product won't be physically revealed, but the images of it will be revealed. We've got a couple dealers. We have a special guest in addition to a couple dealers talking. So new products, new software, some pretty exciting stuff along those lines. Some demonstrations that I think will be really cool. It's really kind of, putting a lot of time and effort into this event, because it almost feels like a coming out event, like coming out of the OTC pinks, many people always say to us, man, you do not seem like a pinks company. And I take that as a compliment. But we're here in the pinks. We're here for a while longer, at least. But in the meantime, we're going to continue to behave and operate like a NASDAQ company, like a NASDAQ company.
All right, thanks for the information, Steve. So I'd like to thank Steve for taking time out of his busy day to answer questions from the AITX community and the Rad Army. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for the notifications, and check the other YouTube videos on this channel. Also, check out the AITX.ai website, radlightmyway.com, radsecurity.com, and make sure to follow Steve on Twitter at Steve Reinharz, and make sure to join the Discord for some information.
Community, really appreciate everybody. And Craig, thank you on company's behalf and on the community's behalf. Much appreciated. And I'll see you on December 7th.
Definitely.
Thanks, everybody.